Jai Hind everyone. I am Dr. Akash from the Department of Applied Science and Humanities at AKGEC Engineering College, and would like to present you a lecture on the subject of rural development and administration and planning. This is one of the major important subject for the students of BTech final year, and we will be looking into discussing various aspects connected with the rural development, and we will just look into the introductory part of the topic. A topic for the day of today is rural development introduction, objectives, importance, basic elements and the key issues, and we'll just try to have an overall view of what the all rural development is all about. Today, as we all know that we are moving in a globalized world, and therefore the importance of agriculture, because as far as our nation is concerned, we are the one of the fastest moving economies of the world, and as all of you know, the agriculture is the primary sector of the Indian economy. So therefore we look into the what are the basics and what are the technical issues and how we need to tackle in the later topics which I will be delivering in different lectures. The topics of our discussion will be introduction, meaning of rural development, objectives of rural development in India, the basic elements of rural development, the problems, the importance of rural development, factors affecting development, key issues in rural development of India, and how to ensure rural development in India. We will be just discussing these topics and will try to make our understanding clear about the basics of the subject. Development is defined as a sustained improvement in material well-being of society, and it contains changes in resource supply, the rate of capital formation, the size and composition of population, technology, skills, efficiency, institutional and organizational setup, and these changes fulfill the wider objective of ensuring more equitable income distribution, greater employment and poverty alleviation. The development is a process which consisting of a long chain of interrelated changes in fundamental factors of supply chain and in the structure of demand, which leads to a rise in national product of a country in the long run. The term growth is defined as a process whereby the country's real national income, per capita income increases over a long period of time. The important aspect is that whatever policy we strive to make, we always look into those policies from the perspective of the long-term implications. So therefore, whenever we talk about the growth and development of a nation, we must always have a long-term perspective in our mind and try to look into those better avenues where we can provide a sustainable growth to that particular sector, so that it may contribute to the development of the nation and its people in to the fuller extent possible. Rural development usually refers to different methods of enhancing the quality of life and financial well-being of individual, specifically living in the rural and remote areas. Traditionally, rural development was centered on the misuse of land-intensive natural resources such as forestry and agriculture. However, today the increasing urbanization and the change in global production network have transformed the nature of rural areas. The important aspect is as the country progresses, the need and the requirement of the system to be given a boost, a stimulus increases. In the same scenario, in the same way, its most important aspect is the rate of capital formation. The financial well-being of the people must be addressed, whichever sector they are belonging to. So therefore, it becomes an important aspect in our context as we talk about the Indian economy as an agrarian economy, and to look into the well-being of the people who are involved, who have the major occupation and major role related to the agriculture production. Rural development still remains the core of overall development of the country. As the primary sector it is. More than 2/3 of the country's people are dependent on agriculture for their livelihood, and 1/3 of the rural India is still below the poverty line. Therefore, it is important for the government to be productive and provide enough facilities just to upgrade their standard of living. Rural development, therefore, in terms, is a term that concentrates on the action taken for development of rural areas to improve the economy. That is, we are talking about improvement the economy. It ultimately implies that the overall economy will be improved as a result of the improving the strategies we adopt for the development of our own primary sector, because it has a linkage to various other sectors of the economy. Mainly the agriculture provides the basic ingredients or raw materials to the industry, and then if the industry prospers, then the service sector will also grow. So therefore, it will have a multitude impact and a multi-dimensional role in defining the nature and extent of the growth parameters and processes of the nation overall. The rural development is a comprehensive term which essentially focuses on action for the development of areas that are lagging behind in overall development of the village economy. It is a process of improving the standard of living of the social and economic welfare of the people living in such areas. Development may mean different things to different people. It implies a change that is desirable. Important aspect is why we are saying that the change is desirable. The important point here is to notice for all of us that change will be the key determinant of the future sustainability of the economy and its various processes, because it is the competitive edge or the competitive advantage which will define the extent of the future employability and income, and thereby define the nature and extent of the well-being of the citizens of the nation. So therefore, it is most important and desirable for our economy to look into the various types of policies and the programs which are very much important for the purpose of providing the a basis support to the agriculture sector. What is desirable at a particular time, place and in a particular culture may not be desirable at other places or other definitions. However, it refers to better quality of life and encompassing at least three components. What are those three components are? The self-sustenance, self-esteem and freedom. Now, important aspect is the most important point we must try to understand. The self-sufficiency, self-reliance, self-sustenance, these are the basic three important components which are dependent on the futuristic view, the optimism feeling of an individual or the citizens of the nation in line with the with an optimistic government. So therefore, we must try to address these things in the individual as well as in the general capacity. The development implies a process of change towards achieving a better quality of life, encompassing at least three of these components: the self-sustenance, the basic necessity of life, including food, clothes, shelter, primary health care and security of life and property. The economic growth is necessary condition for the survival of the nation. The self-esteem, the self-respect, dignity or honor for every person and every nation defines the productivity, or we can say productive contribution of an individual to the economy as well as the sector he is or the employment he is involved in. The absence or denial of self-respect indicates lack of development, in the sense that the absence of institutional framework will lead to create a chaos within the society and it will impede the understanding as well as the performance of the individual in relation to the agriculture activity or the allied productive activity, the person which we think must always look into. Freedom, political, economic and culture, as long as the society is bound by the servitudes of men to nature, ignorance other men, institution and dogmatic belief, it cannot claim to have achieved the goal of the development. The most important point is that we are and we must always strive to address the individual perspective of mind as pertaining to the people belonging to the village sector, or we can say the agriculture sector of the Indian economy. Stiglitz, namely the economist, the Joseph Stiglitz, views development as a transformation of society, a movement from traditional relations, traditional ways of thinking, traditional method of production to more modern ways. Now the time has changed. We must try to look into the modernization of our primary sector, the modernization in the form of techniques to be adopted. The obsolete techniques are not going to play any precise role in defining the extent of growth of our agriculture sector. The characteristic of traditional society is the acceptance of the world as it is. The modern perspective recognizes the change, and it recognizes that we as individual and societies can take action that, for example, reduce mortality rate, increase lifespan and increase the productivity. As we all know, the changes are inevitable, and change is the mode of time. So therefore, we are required always to look into and collaborate with ourselves to the fast changing time, and try to look into building a future better living for us. Rural development is characterized by its emphasis locally produced economic development strategies that are ecologically and socially sustainable. To raise the level of living, in addition to higher income, the provisions of more jobs, better education, the greater attention to the cultural and humanistic values to enhance material well-being and individual and national self-esteem. It also focuses on the aspect connected to the expanding the range of economic and social choices available to the individual and the nations. The scope of rural development has gradually broadened to include the political, social, physical, environmental consideration as well economic factors. Now, important aspect when we are talking about the socially sustainable and ecologically and socially sustainable aspect, we should always strive hard, work in those directions so that we can provide a better environment and try to define a better culture of agriculture, practicing agriculture avenues, the occupations being created for the purpose of the masses to adopt it as a occupation for ensuring their sustainable well-being. Rural development refers to the process of improving economic, social, environmental condition of rural areas, including the enhancement of infrastructure, services and livelihood opportunities for the rural communities. It aims to reduce poverty, create jobs and improve the quality of life in rural areas, and which typically we have lower levels of the income and access to basic services compared to the urban areas. The rural development can encompass a wide range of activities including agriculture, rural infrastructure development, and such as road, means, water supply and sanitation, rural finance, rural enterprise development. It also involves improving the education, healthcare facilities, providing access to markets and promoting sustainable use of natural resource. It amounts to the initiatives that can involve a wide range of interventions, including the improvement of agriculture productivity, the provisions of basic services such as healthcare and education, the development of infrastructure such as road and water supply system, the promotion of economic activities such as small business development and tourism. Effective rural development strategies often involve collaboration between government, private and the civil society, government, private and civil societies and organizations, such as participation and empowerment of rural communities themselves. The goal is to create sustainable and inclusive rural economies and communities that are capable of adapting the changing circumstances and addressing the unique challenges faced in rural areas. The goal of rural development is to create more vibrant and sustainable rural communities that can provide a highly quality of life for the residents, and while also contributing to the overall economic growth development of the country as a whole. The important point is that we must try to chalk out the strategy, bring up the strategy which may create a feeling of belongingness among the members of the members of the society belonging to agriculture as well as the industrial sector, so that they they contribute in the growth and the economic growth of the nation in a collaborative and cohesive manner. The objectives are: the decision making entities ensure positive durable change to boost the rural economy. As a result, dedicated areas will be witnessed as long lasting growth pattern that is likely to reduce poverty rates. The primary objective of rural development includes the following. The first one is to promote economic growth among the rural population through adequate access of food, shelter, clothing, education and employment. With proper opportunities proportional to the same in urban areas, individuals residing in the rural areas will be able to get a level ground of income options. To introduce modern techniques of agriculture in rural areas just to contribute to an increase in productivity rate. As a result, the role of rural development is to establish sustainable, affordable technology to increase production in the national market. Now, important point here is not only the technology is needed for enhancing or increasing the productivity, but it also needs to address the qualitative aspect of the agriculture output. This also needs to be addressed, and this objective can only be situated with the participation of the people at each and every level of the agriculture society. To ensure consistent rural infrastructure development in India, in addition, this process should involve all local population, rural population. Consequently, they will gain the agency to make the large scale economic decision that leads to area based financial development. To bridge the gap between local governing bodies and central administration for better economic communication. On the top of that, rural development aims to provide executive power to panchayat for carrying on policies framed by the experts. Finally, the objectives of rural development is to use natural resources within a territory to ensure maximum economic benefit to inhabitants. This also includes the important land reform measures to boost agriculture output and productivity for every individual involved. Now we look into the basic elements. The basic elements in context of the rural development are the agriculture development, the infrastructure development, and the human development, economic development and environmental development. We'll just have a go through for each topic. The rural development focuses on enhancing the productivity and improving the livelihood of farmers. This can involve initiatives such as providing access to better quality seeds, fertilizer, agriculture inputs, as well as promoting sustainable agriculture practices. As far as the infrastructure development is concerned, rural areas often lack basic infrastructure such as roads, electricity, water supply system, and therefore the rural development initiative can involve the construction of and maintenance for such infrastructure, the determinants, and which can improve access to market, schools and health facilities. As far as the human development is concerned, this rural development also involves the promotion of human development including education, healthcare, social services, and this can involve initiatives such as building schools, health clinics, and community centers, as well as providing vocational training and other forms of education. As we all know that the education is one of the major determinants which defines the nature and extent of human capital for the nation, and therefore a precise segment, the precise sector, education sector, needs to be supported by the government, as well as it also needs to address the needs of the creation of human capital for the benefit of the society, looking into the current perspective as well as defining the growth process in the future. The economic development. The rural development aims to create economic opportunities and reduce poverty in rural areas. It can involve initiatives such as promoting entrepreneurship, supporting small and medium sized enterprises, developing value chains, and that connects the farmer to the market. The environmental development, as far as they are possible, the rural development also aims to promote sustainable development and protect the environment. This can involve initiatives such as promoting sustainable agriculture and forestry practices, conserving natural resources, and mitigating the effects of the climate change. Now, we should also go through the importance of the subject of rural development, as we are going to just have an preliminary idea for the concept. The rural development is important for several reasons, including it will have an impact of reducing poverty. It will also have an impact in promoting the economic growth. It will have an impact on the improving the social food security. It will lead to enhance the social inclusions among the people. It will protecting the environment to the extent. Now, what are these points all about? Rural areas are often characterized by high levels of poverty, and rural development initiative can help to reduce poverty by promoting economic growth, creating jobs, and improving access to basic services such as healthcare, education, and clean water. As far as the promotion of economic growth is concerned, the rural areas can be important drivers of economic growth, particularly in the sectors such as agriculture and tourism. Rural development initiatives can help unlock the potentials of these sectors, creating new opportunities for business and entrepreneurships. The improving food security. As far as the food security is concerned, rural areas are often home to a significant proportion of the world's farmers and play a crucial role in global food production. Therefore, the rural development will have an impact in creating and taking initiatives which can help to improve agriculture productivity. It will have an impact on increasing the access to the market, and will have an impact largely on enhancing the food security for the people of the nation as well as within the world community. Enhancing the social inclusion. The rural areas are often characterized by social inclusion and inequality. Rural development initiatives can help to address these issues by promoting access to basic services, supporting community development, and improving participation of the marginalized groups. The important point is that we need to have an inclusive strategy so that we can bring all the people collectively and unite them and try to define and design those programs which may have an impact, which may have the impact of giving a push up or the boost and to the overall sector of the primary sector of the Indian economy, which is the agriculture sector. Promoting the environment. Rural areas are often home to important natural resources such as forests, rivers, and wildlife. Rural development initiative can help to promote sustainable resource management, protect biodiversity, and mitigate the impact of the climate change with the help of following the traditional ways preserving the traditional ways of performing agriculture or cultivation activities, and try to collaborate with the researchers by way of providing the various new latest technology, biotechnology, biofuels and other things which can, by which we can provide a sustainable base to the to addressing the protection of environment is as far as possible. In summary, we may have the summary or just the rural development is important for promoting inclusive economic growth, reducing poverty, improving food security and protecting the environment and promoting social inclusion of the people. Now, let us have an idea of what are the factors which will be affecting the development of rural sector in India. There are multiple factors to contribute that contributes to both the rural and urban development of India. However, in an in-depth knowledge about these elements of rural development which certainly help the students to understand the ingredients of rural progress. As a result, they will be able to pinpoint the nature of factors which have a direct impact on rural development within our country. Therefore, the factors affecting the rural development in India are duly stated, as we'll just have a discussion of. Lack of access to basic amenities, the agriculture practices, the lack of infrastructure, the poverty and unemployment, social inequalities, government policies, climate change, gender inequality, governance, and will have an insight into a respective point related to the topic, the factors affecting the rural development in India. The lack of access to basic amenity. The rural areas in India often lack access to basic amenities such as healthcare facilities, educational institutions, safe drinking water and sanitation facilities. This limits their ability to develop and hinders their overall growth. As far as the agriculture practices are concerned, we all know the agriculture is a key driver of rural development in India, but many farmers still rely on outdated techniques and lack access to modern farming equipments and technology. This makes it difficult for them to increase the crop yield and improve their economic status. So therefore, this needs to be addressed from the point of view of an individual as well as from the point of view of overall agriculture society. The lack of infrastructure, the rural development lack the proper infrastructure such as road, bridges, communication networks, and this makes it difficult for the people to access market for businesses to operate efficiently. The poverty and unemployment as concerned, the rural poverty and unemployment rates are high in India, as we all know, and this limits the ability of individual and communities to invest in education and healthcare, and creates a cycle of poverty that can be difficult to break. Social inequalities such as caste-based discrimination, gender-based violence continues to be a major issue in rural areas in India. These factors limits the opportunities and resource for marginalized communities, hindering their development. The government policy, as far as the government policies are concerned, they can have a significant impact on rural development in India, and policy that prioritize rural infrastructure development, education, healthcare and agriculture can help to promote the growth and development in these areas. The climate change is a growing concern in India as well as throughout the world, and we as Indian citizen, responsible citizen can have a significant impact on rural communities. Extreme weather events such as drought and floods can damage crops and infrastructure, leading to economic losses and hindering development. This needs to be addressed by the government and as well as the various stakeholders throughout the productive scenario sector of the economy. Gender inequality is a significant challenge in rural India, with women often facing discrimination and limited access to education and health care and economic opportunities. Governance, as far as the governance is concerned, the effective governance is essential for rural development in India, as it will have an enabling impact on the process of delivering the basic services and infrastructure to rural communities. However, corruption, bureaucratic inefficiencies and lack of accountability often creates an environment which creates hindrances and effectiveness of the governance in rural areas is impeded. The key issues in rural development in India are some of these challenging and needs initiatives for development of rural areas are as discussed. The development of human resource, the land reforms, the development of productive resources of each locality, the development of infrastructure, the elevation of poverty, the healthcare and the other related issues must be the key standards for the rural development which needs to be addressed. Now, important points are the development of human resource. The rural human capital can be developed by providing quality education and skill development and enabling them to better and more affordable access to healthcare and sanitation facilities. The land reforms, it includes the objectives like realizing the goal of land to the tiller, reducing the concentration of land in few hands and increasing the agriculture productivity and production. Development of the productive resources of each locality, it requires to enhance opportunities of employment in order to increase income of rural areas. Development of infrastructure will always play a key role, and it is a key to any development process. It involves improvement in electricity, irrigation, credit marketing and transportation facilities, better facilities for agriculture research and extension of and information dissemination becomes a key in providing a basis to the future growth and development of this sector. There is a need for improving the quality and quantity as well for these basic infrastructure facilities in rural areas, just to realize the true potential of the system, or we can say the sector of the Indian economy. Elevation of poverty, a special measure should be taken for elevation of poverty and bringing about significant improvement in the living conditions of the weaker section of the population living in rural areas. This can be done by emphasizing a greater access to the productive employment opportunities for the masses. Healthcare, the rural areas in India often lack access to quality healthcare, which affects the health and well-being of rural communities, and this is particularly true for the women and children who are more vulnerable to the health problems. How to ensure rural development in India is one of the major concerns till date for the policymakers. Now, to what extent we can look into these points or the standards, we just go through these topics now. The Government of India has launched multiple projects on rural development in India over various decades. The keys to a sustainable rural development in terms of economic situation includes many aspects to be addressed. The proper presence of advanced facilities for irrigation to all land types in India. As a result, the farmers can boost their agriculture output and create economic opportunities for themselves. Credit facilities on access to necessary ingredients of farming such as fertilizers, pesticides and seeds will be made possible. Subsidies on electricity used for farming purposes ensure that the rural population save more than it spends. Combat with social inequalities and discrimination in rural areas to create a sense of unity. The sense of social unity will lead to the formation of an economic class whose aim is to just boost production and ensure rural development, and making sure that there are adequate training sessions for the farmers to equip them with modern agriculture measures. Besides farmers should also be aware of agriculture policies, land reforms, market policies for the best use of their resources. In addition to all the points we have discussed throughout the lecture, an improvement in the current agriculture markets also makes sure that they can accommodate and contribute to the economic growth of the by the rural population. In this way, one can ensure a sustainable growth curve and desirable rural development of India, looking into provision of self-reliance, self-sustainability and self-livelihood for the people belonging to the rural sector of economy. Thank you all. Jai Hind.